Welcome to Keeper of the Mountain. Today's little bit is going to be a bit fiddly, but I think you'll like it. As you saw in my last video, I got this frame built that I'm leaning on here. Now I took a little vacation, went out of town, went down to Texas for a week. I'm going to throw a couple of pictures of that in here in this video, but the main thrust of this video is going to be making this frame ready for hooking the body mounts. And we'll see the little problems I have. Just come along and we'll figure it out we'll figure it out together because, like I always say, I really don't know what I'm doing, and I've found it in my life to be prudent to not be afraid of being a fool. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know how to do something but you really need it done and you really want it done, you've either got to get a bunch of money together to pay somebody who does know what they're doing, or you need to learn to do it yourself. And the problem with that is you're just not going to know what you're doing. You're going to be slow at it. You're not going to be, maybe not perfect at it. Certainly not perfect at it. You're going to make a mistake, but not being afraid to be a fool helps you learn things. Because if you go into something thinking you already know everything there is to know about it, and you can just do it, well, guess what? You aren't going to learn anything because you already think you know everything, and nobody will want to help you either. So the reality is I don't know anything. I know very little. And so here we go. Let's take a look at it. And if you see something that I could do differently that might work better, just let me know. And maybe, just maybe, I'll give it a shot. You never know. And I will give you credit for the idea. So I have finished this. Well, I wouldn't say finished. I haven't welded everything up tight and solid. Everything is tacked together so that if I need to adjust it a little bit, I certainly can. I can bend it and tweak it a little bit, and I think I'm going to need to do that. Shouldn't come as any surprise. I don't have a frame table or anything to work with this on. I'm just doing it on makeshift surfaces, so it's going to be not exactly right. So what I have here is it's setting on the frame in the front right here. You can see it's setting on the frame. And then back here, right back here, I've got a little over an inch. And back here, it's setting on the frame. Now I know that my frame is flat for the most part. I mean, I think it might be a little twisted one way or another. And I know that the frame, because I put a laser on it, is straight this way and straight this way. And so that tells me from my measurements that this piece is higher at that end than it is at that end. And not just because I put a level on it, but because if I were to put a straight edge right here and run it out all the way to the front, it'd only be about 6.5 inches. And from the frame, and here right in this spot it's 8 inches. So that tells me these 2x2 metal frame rails go up. Well, and the body runs into them right here, but that's okay because this part of the frame used to be necessary, because right here that was where the rear spring shackles to the leaf springs. But I don't have leaf springs anymore. I'm running these coil springs, and this is the mount for them. And so anything from this mount right here back is really not needed. So I can cut these off right here on both sides, take all that out, and this whole thing should drop down. So let's try that. I'm gonna hang this from the ceiling because I have nowhere else to put it, and we'll cut this off. Back 11 inches. we go. Got that cut off. Now you can see it sticks quite a ways up into the body, but that's okay. I also have to clear the shock bolts, so that won't be a problem. I can make adjustments to the floor for that. Now I have it straight, but I see it rocks a little bit, which, like this, as you can see, it rocks a little bit because it's not exactly square, and I knew that. And it's not 100% square right there from that end to this end. So I'm gonna have to twiddle with that a little bit, see what I can get straightened out, see if I can make it happy. Okay, so I figured it out. I straightened this out right here, made those frames even with each other all the way across the back here. And then up here, this is 1 inch too far that way, which is well within industry standards, because a little known fact is that a lot of these multi-million-dollar classic hand-built cars that people have revered over the years, they can vary one side to the other an inch or two in dimensions and shapes and everything else. So I'm well within industry standards. However, I'm going to make it better. And I'm going to make it better by welding it in the middle here where it needs to go, so I have the clearance from my tires from the body identical on each side. And then I'm going to push the front end over where it needs to be centered, tack weld that in place, and then I can build the body mounts in place with it welded where it goes, and one at a time put the rubber bushings in. I think that ought to do it. And then once I have the rubber bushings in it, I can finish welding up all the joints and stuff. That in itself will relax the frame enough to where it'll weld into position, and then I can start working on putting doors in this thing. And so once I get all this stuff welded together and all my body mounts built and installed, then I'll be well within my tolerances, which are better than industry, because I just don't like the idea of being an inch or two off from one side of the car to the other, because it just adds to itself as you keep working on the car. If you've got to adjust for an inch here and an inch there, next thing you know, it's 3 or 4 inches and you've got a disaster on your hand. So that's where we're at with this project. I'm going to go ahead and sand these up and tack weld them and get them, ready to go. Now that I've cut this guy out of the way, I have removed structure on the back of my frame. And I don't want that moving in the future. Like when we're driving down the road, man, there's a lot of stress and strain on these things. And I don't want it moving. I don't want it tweaking. I want the car to drive right. So we have to replace that. So there's a few things I can do now that I have that cut out of the way. I put this straight edge across here, this level, and I measured the gap right here, and the same place over here I measured the gap, and we're identical. So what that tells me is the back of the body is straight, and I have it welded, as you saw, right there, up here, and over here. So the body's not going to move, and we're going to have 6 attachment points from the body and the frame. The 4 places I welded, which are going to end up with brackets that are welded on. And then there's going to be the 2 back here. One right over here and one right over here. But before we can do that, I need to replace that cross member that I cut out, because it was in the way back here, running into the body and not letting the body go where it needed to go. So now I have to build a new one. Thanks to Al, my buddy Al, I have this chunk of 2x2 square tubing, thin wall. Way more than I need, but guess what? We're gonna make us a cross member. So we're gonna start by measuring the distance between the frame rails. We have 30 inches exactly. So we have to make a 30-inch cross member. And then clean everything up so we can weld it nicely and get this thing held together. How am I gonna do this? Well, I have an idea. Let's give it a shot. So we need 30 inches. So let's go a little longer than 30. Let's go to 32 just for the sake of argument here and make a mark. So let's get this cleaned up. Nice 45-degree angle, look at that. Now let's go 30 inches down. And of course I set my pen down. Now where did my pen go? That's the biggest problem with this whole thing. Is I can never find the same tape measure or the same pen twice. It just never seems to end. See how many pens I can lose this episode. I'm on number 2, so let's count the many pens. All right, so this one comes in. We got to come in this way with this one. So we'll come here. We'll do that, and we'll go, and then we'll go across this way. Let's get this over. And we got to come in. Da, 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 da. No, that's not right. There we go. There we go, just like that. Just like that. Okay. Let's cut this with the pen. Let's see if I can do this right. I'll put it in my pocket. I bet it's not there when I need it. Now I know this cutting style or in this tool is not as exciting as throwing sparks, but it's a matter of saving some money, because the amount of money I'm spending on cutting wheels is ridiculous. What you just saw me cut would have taken 2 cutting wheels at least, and that adds up pretty fast. And my goodness, this went quick and easy. I've still got a good blade in the portaband, and let's see how this thing fits. Nice clean cuts, I love it. So how's this gonna fit? Look at that. That's gonna look so nice. So let me cap these ends and then we'll get it welded on. So I have this piece of flat stock here, and let's line this bad boy up. Draw around it with the pen, square that up nicely with the square. And make sure I got it square, because I can always remove metal. It's really hard to add metal. And I clean that up a little bit with a grinder, and it'll fit beautifully. Right, a little work with a grinder and she fits nice. Now I just need to weld around it and it'll be nice and capped off, and do it again on the other end. All right, I have it clamped in place. Let's see if I can get a tack weld on here. And get it the same on each end here. This is the difficult part. Gotta make it look good. Make it look like you meant to do it. Okay, got that intact. Let's get the other intact. Well, there we go. Nicely welded. Didn't take a whole lot of grinding. This thing is solid. Now, I think that looks pretty good as a replacement for the old cross member. Should do the trick. I think it's gonna be just fine. That shouldn't go anywhere. That's nicely boxed in. So in the next video, we're gonna be making body mounts, because this body needs to be mounted to that frame. And I need to do it here, and there, and there on both sides. So a total of 6 body mounts. I think that'll be a fun little project, and you know, you just come along. You know, you have to come next time and